Hello everybody, welcome to Cause and Effect, a show about betas. This is the ninth episode? What?
Ninth, yes, I think.
Yeah, nine. Why are you talking if I'm saying? No, this is the ninth episode of the fourth season of Cause and Effect. Hooray for us! So anyway, today we are talking about Protean and different decks that utilizes the good Protean cards. If you have missed the first part, go ahead and watch that beforehand, before watching this. Anyway, we are going to talk about the Stanislava deck now, which utilizes 4-mana mist in the best possible manner. Isaac. So, yep. Why is this one of the top decks around?
Your mic.
What?
Isaac,
My mic?
put it closer to your Lussable mouth. That's a Swedish...
Saffron bun. I just googled it, so...
But it needs to be closer still, I think. Or
but
angled more.
Then I'm going to eat it.
Yeah, okay, eat it.
Yeah. When you rap, you're supposed to have the mic so you touch with your lips.
Okay, but I'm not rapping.
Are you not? Really?
And we're ashamed of you all.
As you should be.
Spoof. You just talk about the deck now. I haven't even started on my beer and I'm already giggling.
Okay, so why this deck is successful is basically because Stanislava is a good vampire. The sidekicks are okay. Ileana is brilliant, by the way, but...
Should we bring up Stanislava?
I think so.
Yeah. So she's an inner circle. You cannot use retainers against her, and you cannot block with allies.
She's kind of like a midget, but fatter.
Allies cannot block her, is key part, I'd say. Especially if you face allies, otherwise it doesn't matter that much. But she's brilliant. Plus 2 bleed, superior inclam, plus superior celerity, and superior dominate in the circle, and all that. And the psychic Ileana, which lack both animalism and celerity, but hey, that doesn't matter. You cannot play contracts on Ileana, it doesn't really matter either. But they're kick-ass combo with the dominate fortitude Protean. And here you have the deck list, which is basically... This deck list is very similar to a lot of other, like, inner circle-esque decks that you face. Just most of the stealth end up being obfuscate stealth, usually not Protean stealth, but hey, it's a Protean deck. So, first off, we should talk about the beast build, as we see here. 6 of them in 81 cards. And that's for the votes, 4 of them. And Superior Mind Reap, which there are 8 of. You can also do them for an Abactor Hunt if needed, and Superior Govern and Superior Scouting Mission. So there's a lot of options to use the Beast Mode on.
Some really powerful actions as well, as you see.
Yeah, Mind Rape is really powerful. Village Hunt can be really powerful. The 3 fat guy votes are also really powerful, and especially if you're only one playing fat guys.
We bring up Belisant?
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
You don't see it every day. I had to look it up myself before the show. Like, that's some kind of... Yeah. So...
It's good and bad, because what's going to happen is probably delaying tactics. And then you have to pay the 3 pool and ditch this one ash heap. So not too exciting, but...
Yeah.
And the other thing we can see here is Form Mist. And that together with Beast Meld and Force of March stealth, Earth Control stealth, and Rapid Change stealth, this deck ended up being kind of stealth heavy actually. Not obfuscate heavy, but still kind of heavy. So it's, in my opinion, a pretty straightforward deck. But you have the Form of Mist, and it works like we talked about earlier. You draw additional cards for 1 card, but you can also use it defensively.
Yeah.
I don't know if Autumn has anything to add.
It's a really super aggressive kind of deck, because if Isaac made a comparison to more classic inner circle decks, those decks have normally a lot more bloat. Maybe villain, more bloat, political actions, maybe boat captivations, stuff like that. So what this deck lacks in bloat or defense, it needs to catch up with an offense to be able to win, and it did win. So I'm presuming it works extremely well as an aggressive deck. Because
but you do have 8. Is it 8 Mind Rape, which can be used to survive as well?
Yeah, of course. It's not bereft of defense. It's just compared to a lot of other decks, it's low defense. At least my reckoning is. So whatever.
Yeah.
My point is, it's probably super aggressive. You can make the Stanislava deck with votes. There are like title vampires, and you can remove some of the ones that doesn't have title and still have a dominate and vote deck and have it more multi-acting and what have you. It's possible to play it like that, but this one is pure bleed, more or less.
Yeah.
But is Dominate and Protean such a good fit? I mean, you talked about Ileana being a good sidekick. Are there any other really good sidekicks? Because this seems to me like one of the best ways of playing Dominate with Protean.
Yeah, I agree with that sentiment. But there are other options, if you will. A few episodes ago we talked about Peter Botosh deck, which played Dominate Protean with a group 4-5, if I remember correctly. I think it was 4-5. And that deck ended up working really well. I haven't seen that deck that much. I've only seen it one game, and I haven't played it myself. So I can't say if it's better than this deck, but this script is brilliant. And at the EC, Ben Peel actually mentioned that one of the new Protean cards that were designed, one of the key aspects of designing that one card was not to make Stanislava any stronger.
Okay.
That's how like much of a presence she is in the collective mind of the community. What she can do and what her limits are or isn't. It's like so it's really strong vampire. Her most limiting factor is that it's hard to find Dominate Fortitude and superior Dominate Fortitude Protean bodies.
Yeah.
It's Ileana, and the rest of them have inferior.
And that's probably the reason why you only see 3 governed unaligned, or?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. If it were up to me, I'd probably change all scouting missions for governs, but
Yeah.
hey, I'm a Swede.
Like governance.
Yes.
Okay, so but it's basically straightforward. Just bring up Stanislava, bring up a sidekick, and then just bleed for the win.
And
In this deck, it's really obvious that Form is going to be used for stealth, because you have rapid change and Alpha Glint, which you want to use otherwise.
we should mention rapid change. I don't think we did that.
No, we didn't.
Bring it up. It's another one of their stealth card, as well as another one of their combatant cards.
Yeah.
At different levels, of course.
Yeah, it's not as brilliant as Formist, but that would be just horrible.
Yeah. So, but it just makes the discipline even more. This is the strike competence discipline. When they even have the competence which combos with stealth.
Yeah. So, but so in which kind of meta would this deck prevail? I don't know if that's the right use of prevail, but
I would say the same thing as what I talked about in the Earthmeld Sing in the Dark example. It's just animalism have the hardest time with competence, and this is a stealth bleed deck which has a lot of competence. So animalism is good, but it's also good against, say, guns or well, any combat that it doesn't grapple, more or less.
But this deck has Alpha Glint.
Oh yeah, so you can handle.
what's Alpha Glint?
Right, that's a funny card.
So this feels like this deck is skewed towards countering a heavy combat environment.
Yeah.
But it is the only thing I can see. And probably kind of big vampires as well, considering the heavy amount of mind rapes.
Yeah, well, if
Like
you see like
Teo Beast meta.
yeah, or Nana Nangila,
Yeah.
mind raping them is really good as well.
Enkidu.
No, it can't be mind rapes.
Oh no!
So that's probably what this deck is as its strongest against.
Yeah.
It's kind of ridiculous to have a deck that has 16 combo dances. And it's not a huge issue. It's really weird. Okay, lovely deck.
Lovely deck.
Yeah. So what's just the main weakness of the deck then? Besides the lack of good vampires for Stanislava to play with, Isaac.
Okay, this kinda is that, but you're very, very, very sensitive to Pentex.
Because
You're also very sensitive to a bad crypto. Like playing 4 Stanislava in a Stanislava deck is... That's for me is playing the lottery. Because in a lot of Star Vampire decks you have sidekicks that are good enough to replace, but here you don't have any that's really good enough. So if you don't draw Stanislava, maybe you have Genevieve or Ingrid Rossler, then you can vote, but you cannot do any of the Superior Dominate shenanigans. Or maybe you have Ileana, and then you cannot vote, because you don't have a vote. And you can do the Superior Mind Rape shenanigans, but you cannot do it because she's a 7 cap. So it's very, very Stanislava focused, a Stanislava focused deck. The other ones are periphery, at best. And that also makes her end up with losing a lot of blood.
Yeah.
So that's always my feeling, that a Stanislava focused deck is, in one sense of the word, too Stanislava focused.
Adam, do you agree?
Yeah, I agree. That's a disadvantage that's very, very luck based. Sometimes it's a disadvantage, sometimes it's not an issue. So that can be like, if you like rolling the dice, sure. But
When you put it that way.
I think if you face other mid-cap dominates, especially if they're your predator, you're gonna get destroyed, more or less. So it's an answer to something else other than bleeding. It doesn't outbleed anything because you're turning up an 11 cap without crypt acceleration, and that 11 cap might not even start bleeding at once. It might mind rape a bit before that.
Yeah. So it's the answer to a combat heavy meta.
Yeah, I think so.
Only.
Yeah.
No, it's a decent like inner circle deck, but it's not more than decent. Because you will probably always be both locked.
Yeah, this one doesn't have a lot of... It's only Genevieve and Ingrid who has titles, except for Stanislava.
Okay, you mentioned it doesn't include crypt acceleration, which I feel is... Well, why is that?
Because I guess this is a deck from 2009, and it's an Italian player, and they were not in the breach of the crypt acceleration revolution.
And if
I think they're just that.
If
but
you
today
know that you're facing combat,
yeah.
If you know you're facing combat, it might not even be a disadvantage. It might be an advantage.
Yeah.
If you don't need to be fast, adding those extra 10 cards to your deck might hinder you more as well. So
but
in some cases,
I don't know. I think
if you were to bring,
I think that's always better to be faster.
Yeah. Okay. I don't agree. I mean, if they don't have anyone to rush, maybe they will rush someone else and they will get weaker, and then you put up your vampire and then you win.
On the other hand, if you're not the first vampire on the table, you'll just turn up a vampire, and then you have that critical round where you go 1 laps around the table, and then you go to torpor. So if you're the first one, you don't get that critical turn. As soon as they turn up to you, Bell, you're just like, here's your mind rape.
Yeah. Okay, so in other words, you would include crypt acceleration.
Of course.
Adam too, I presume.
Yes, I would. I'm just saying that in this meta, it might be another way of metagaming to not have crypt acceleration.
Yes. Okay, do we have anything more to say about the Stanislava deck?
No.
It's of course, it thrives in a meta which has a lot of allies as well.
Yes.
That's good. Imbues gets destroyed.
Destroyed. Yes. Yeah, okay, then we should go on and talk about the Unnamed, which we chose as our homunculus deck.
Here we are.
Okay. Adam, have you played this deck?
No, I haven't. Well, I'm not gonna say I haven't. I don't remember. I might have played this deck. I've seen it been played a few times at least.
Okay.
Well, maybe not this exact deck, but one like it. So yeah, it's unnamed. Maybe we should introduce unnamed.
Yeah, but how? It doesn't have a name!
Okay, it.
Okay.
It is. I'm not gonna name it. I'm going to describe it.
Yes.
Unnamed. Plus. Sorry, not plus speed. I thought. Okay, enkel cog, of course. I guess plus speed later. And does 2 R damage as a strike for 1 blood, and if you bleed successfully, gain 2 pool. The interesting part with Unnamed, of course, is Celerity Protean, and that's like the cards that you use to make this deck work. Only one part of the deck is fueled by Protean. The other one is Flare of Action, Bleed and Untap, which we've had a show on, so maybe check that out if you like Flare of Action.
We had a show about Flare of Action. Oh, what a retarded show this is.
Are you ashamed now?
No, it's just like when you say it out loud, it sounds so stupid.
Okay, actually it was a show about non-standard multi-acting. But yeah, Flare of Action was a part of that. Yeah, so the Unnamed deck relies heavily on Enkel Cog to bleed twice. And
that's of course because it doesn't have any plus bleed in the beginning.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
That and the extra action is really good. And Flare of Action is a transient kind of multi-act for Enkel Cog, but we also have the Homunculus, which is the card we talked about before, to untap and Enkel Cog bleed with. And for this deck, bleeding isn't only a good way of ousting, it's also a defense because of Unnamed special to gain pull from bleeding.
Yeah.
And additionally in this deck, Homunculus serves a kind of interesting purpose because Unnamed is Bali Infernal. You can pay blood to untap instead of pool if you're really low on pool. So that's a neat trick as well. That's sometimes used.
Yes. You said before I should ask you about Perfectionist when we talk about this deck.
Yes. It's very good for acting out of turn because Perfectionist says you can gain a blood from a successful action once each turn. So with Perfectionist with Enkel Cog, you can get twice the amount of blood as if you played Perfectionist without Enkel Cog. Okay. And it's also good for fueling Homunculus. Homunculus is really expensive to use a lot, so Perfectionist, you need to get a Perfectionist eventually, in my experience with Homunculus.
Yeah.
So it's a really good blood gain engine if you get with Enkel Cog, put simply.
Okay, so I mean, obviously, does this have the same kind of weaknesses as the Stanislava deck? Is a Star Vampire deck, so Pentex is a big problem. Is that?
Yes.
Well, thanks for that informed answer.
Yeah, and that's the analysis. You have Star Vampire, Pentex is a problem. Should I talk about something else?
Yes, go on.
You can.
Okay.
Adam,
as we see this. Okay, sorry.
Sorry, Adam. Did you have anything to say about that?
Yes, you have 3 caps.
Yeah.
In plural in this deck. So Pentex is less of a problem, even if it's huge, of course. So 3 caps, which has obfuscate, so you can remove the Pentex probably eventually, even if you might lose 1 or 2 actions. You can remove it later. Yes, that was my thing about Patix. It's a bit better. Or
Yeah, it's a bit better, but still, like having the constant. You have a Star Vampire. The deck, your problem is Pentex. It's like, okay, maybe we should bring it up every time, but it's getting ridiculous. I wanted to talk about the Earth Melts and the Former Mists in this deck as well. Just wanted to point out they're actually here, and they are that strong of a card when you put it together with Presence and Obfuscate. You still want those cards. And especially in this deck, if you get blocked, you have Earth Melt to untap and try something else again, and you have Form Mist for the same reasons as we stated before. So that was what I wanted to talk about.
Okay, cool. So how do you strategize with this deck, Adam?
It's a stealth bleed, and it's a 10 cap stealth bleed, so you don't have much leeway in terms of strategy. You need to turn up unnamed and stop bleeding, and you can't stop ever. More or less. So it's not much strategy, but you do have some unique options because of the unname's other special, the one with the 2 ranged aggravated.
Yeah.
You actually can deter some combat decks from fighting you.
Yeah.
And that's a really good bonus. If you have a lot of blood on the unnamed, you can't put unnamed in torpor in one strike, and yeah, it serves as a deterrent, and that's something that you should keep in mind, that you can actually scare other players even if you're not playing bleed deck.
A lot of the time, you can just stay untapped and wait for the longest time with using your active cog action, and people will be scared shitless. For real. They will be that scared of going to torpor. Because the biggest strength of having access to aggravated damage is that people fear it more than it actually is. It's dangerous.
Actually, I based the whole deck idea around that when I played Escape Mental Patients and just threaten with with aggravated damage and just bleed. But then people started doing stuff against the mental patients, and they cost 2 pool, and I just died. So yeah, the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Yeah, fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings total obliterations.
So, Isak, do you have any quotes on fear?
No. I'm sorry. Those were the 2 I had in mind, and you just picked them. You guys suck.
Okay. Do we have anything more on the unnamed deck?
Not in terms of Protean, no.
No.
And probably not in other terms as well. It's very straightforward.
It fails a lot if someone else plays an Ankle Cog deck. That's
You don't want Ankle Cog contested.
No. So save your DIs for Ankle Cog. That's probably the best use of them.
Yeah. Okay. There's another deck which uses Homunculus as well, which is really good, that we have time to talk a little bit about. We have talked about it before, but it's an awesome deck, and that's the Racial Brandywine deck.
It's actually the most boring deck in the game, I think.
For the player or
everyone involved. No one is a winner.
Well, okay, so it's utilizes Protean a lot.
I thought that was Top Dog.
No. Top Dog can be fun for the 2 players cross table.
But this is just
the one who plays Anarchist Uprising and takes the game win.
Yes.
So Isak mentioned this before. Adam has played this like maybe in 60 games, all in all.
The worst thing was before the Ropicon 2010, 9 something. I don't remember. Again and again, probably 20 games in a row. It was great and horrible at the same time.
Yeah,
I remember to learn Madness Network.
Yeah, I remember that game night when we had like, I don't know, 5 or 6 games, and he just played Racial Brandywine, and in the end, he just wanted to bleed him into his cross table and just fuck him up. So tired of Racial Brandywine. So Adam, you can just talk about this deck a little bit, and then we'll do something else?
Madness Network is like Enkelkog, but you can use it 5 times. You need to defend it, so it's a block deck. And the Earth Meld serves a purpose as both wakes for the block. Well, you block and you play Earth Melds, as well as untaps for additional actions.
Yeah.
That's why there's so many of them. The biggest resource in a Rachel Brandywine deck to do anything, more or less, is the amount of Earth Melds you can play. Everything else is extraneous. So you have 20 Earth Melds in 76 cards. It's kind of silly looking at the deck list, but if I could, I would add more.
But you have 14 card slots left.
It's true. Yes. It's true.
Yeah. So basically just play Earthmeld and bleed and play Earthmeld and block.
Yeah. It's for a mist it's really good because you get some extra actions through and you can tap some extra guys. This is one of the decks where I thought about adding Nocturne Theater, as I talked about earlier, but I never did it because you don't have the cards place card slots or the master faces for it. But yeah.
You play Homunculus as well. Why do you need that when you already have Earthmeld?
Its homunculuses are like permanent second traditions, more or less.
Okay.
In the beginning you need a second tradition to gain intercept, but later on, when you have some permanent intercept, the only use for the seconds is to untap.
Yeah.
Almost. And if you can untap with homunculus, that's the same thing. And except for the first untap, you use Earth Melts to gain all the other untaps you need that turn. So homunculus is just extra wakes, more or less, in this, or extra actions if no one does anything, like cross table or what have you.
And I would like to point out that Pentex of course is maybe a problem because you have a Star Vampire, but you also have some sidekicks, so it's not super problem. But what it really is a problem, which we learned, was Vampiric Disease.
Yes. And Hunger Moon.
And Hunger Moon.
So, yes.
So, when you face that Hunger Moon Vampiric Disease deck,
curse the gods.
Yes, and if you play against Anders, you probably will win. I'm Anders.
I know.
I'm Adam.
Okay, yeah.
And by the power of deduction, the audience can calculate who I am.
Together we are Legion.
I am Legion. We should probably say something useful.
Intelligent about the game. Yeah. Do we have anything more to say about this deck?
Play it once, never again. That's
okay.
It's really.
Why was it so boring to play?
Well, it's just like you block everything you can, and you play all the Earth Melts that you can, and you cycle all the cards you can cycle to play more Earth Melts. And if you lose, it's probably because you got Pentexed or someone blocked something crucial, or you went to torpor at some point and you needed to regain some blood, and then you set back maybe 15 minutes, and then you can't win because of timeout. So it more or less comes down to, were you hindered early on, yes or no? If yes, then you time out. If no, you can win if you play fast. But it's mostly it's mostly down to the timeout thing. It doesn't give you much options. You can just bleed, and that's the only thing that can speed it up.
Yeah. Isaac, any last words on this? No.
No.
Okay.
It's really unexciting playing against. But yeah.
It's just hitting your wall against the cotton, hitting your head against the cotton wall.
It's so obvious. Either you have enough stealth to pass it, or you don't.
Yeah.
And that's it. Of course, you can kick its ass as well, but basically, that's the key moment. Either you have enough stealth, or you don't. And that's
Elder impersonation or something.
Yeah, that's one example of enough stuff.
Okay, so do we have any other thoughts about protein?
I don't know. I think this is a real tough one for the design team because it's so good when it comes to helping disciplines or decks that actually have a delivery system. But when you don't just have like a mid cap or low cap city Grangler crypt, your life sucks. Everything is bad. And one thing that we haven't pushed so much on is most of the cards in Protean really do require Superior to be useful.
Yeah.
It's like the Prince Justicar crypt I talked about earlier in the first part of this episode doesn't really work that well because Katarina has only inferior Protean, and then everything gets really awkward. So it's
Adam, any thoughts?
No, not on that. I agree. It's a superior kind of discipline. I think also something that's a bit misguided or has been a bit misguided is that people want it to be a combat discipline, and I don't think.
It's a combat.
Say from copying other card effects, you're not gonna make a new way of having a combat. So I think it should just be embraced as a support discipline, design-wise, and think of it as that, because that's how it is now, and it's hard to change Beatus after how many thousand cards have already been made. It's pretty much set in stone, so I don't.
Yeah.
That also feels like words that are meant to be eaten up later on.
Yes, I say stupid things. Oh well, things are supposed to sound wise, but I eventually prove to be wrong about.
But then you get quoted and ends up on Extrala's blog, and then you sound like a retard.
Yes.
You need to win the finals to win. Why, thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, so anyway. So Protean is support. That's our final, our parting words anyway. So I would like to thank everyone for watching, and remember, if you have any thoughts, comments or ideas, you can post them on our Facebook page or send an email to the address below, which is causeampersandeffect@gmail.com. Remember to like us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube account. After the show, we'll post a thread on beacon.net where you can continue the discussion and you can just go crazy. And now we will end this show with a big smile and goodbye.
Bye! Bye bye! Bye bye! Bye bye!